if your business uses digital products or you're thinking about launching them, I'm going to give you a quick overview on how to launch products that actually sell based on the mistakes that I've made in the past that have stopped me from making money with this kind of stuff. First thing, right? Let's look at the general approach that most people use when launching products. This is what I did in the past. I wasted months of my time, God knows how much money, and lost billable hours and all of this sort of stuff. Not to mention all of the launch fees and software fees and all of this. So most people, they have, their idea and they think this is the best idea that anyone's ever had. I'm going to go and I'm going to create a course on this because I know this is what my target audience is going to want to see, read, whatever. It's going to help them solve their problem. And then they just go and they create this whole thing, and they eventually, at the end of it, they have this big long course here, the modules, your video and all this. And this might take them 3 months to actually create all of this in terms of all of the time that is going to be taken to create this course. So you've created the program within 3 months, and then you're going to take another, let's just say 2 weeks to optimize everything like the sales page, the email sequences that you're going to be sending to try and promote this thing, partnerships, all of this sort of stuff to try and launch this, to try and drive traffic to this. So we're now 3.5 months, and you take all of this action, you create this course, all of this, you launch it, you take all of this action, and you get maybe like one sale. This is what I first did when I first tried to launch one of these courses. I created a huge, massive program, and it took me months to put this thing together. I actually ended up at the end of it with 4 sales of 500 each. But when I look at how much money that I should have made, if you're looking at this as basically a monthly income, I made 2K over 3 months. That is less than 700 a month for that program. And of course, you can say scale it from all of this, but I launched this to 2,000 people and I only got 4 sales. The fact is, I'd taken all of this time, all of this effort to create something nobody wanted to buy. And all of the effort that I then put into it for another 3 or 4 months of trying to promote this thing were useless. Nobody was buying it. It wasn't making any money. It was just wasted time. I actually ended in total with only 4 sales. I think I actually got 1 more. I think I got 5 sales. So 2.5 grand over 6 months. It's just not worth it. And that's like a yearly income, if that was to maintain, of 5 grand. It's like, what, 400 quid a month or $400 a month? Pointless. So then I thought, all right, let me do the next course. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to change this. And this is what then most people try. And it is a better approach, but it's not exactly a good approach. Here's what I did. Same sort of thing. I had the big idea. Had this big idea, and I thought, oh, no, what? I'm going to go to my email list. I'm going to send out a couple of emails, a little sequence of emails out to people. And I'm going to ask them to jump onto a phone call with me. And on that phone call, I'm going to ask them basic questions about the problems that they're having and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm going to find out what they want to buy and if they would buy a program that I would put along this. So I had verbal agreement from these people. Yes, I will buy this program. And then I went away and I did the same thing. I spent 2 months, 3 months creating this thing. At the end of it, I had the same sort of course. Then I did another 2 weeks for the sales page and all of this stuff. And the sales email sequence, all of this. And then at the end of it, I ended up with 3 sales. Again, $500 program, $1,500. If you take into consideration all of the time that it took for me to jump on the phone with everybody, organize all of that information, that feedback, because what I was doing was recording the call with their permission, transcribing it, looking for the common thoughts, all of this, getting their permission and saying, hey, would you buy this if I created a course? And I spoke to 20 people who said yes, and 3 of them bought. And I was like, well, what the hell, man? Basically, in both of these approaches, I was making massive assumptions about whether or not people would actually buy. Even when I was asking them, will you buy? And they said yes. It was still a huge assumption from me that they actually would. So ever since then, and these failures, there's a different approach. And this is the approach that I would recommend anybody take if you're looking at selling any sort of digital product, information product, whatever that might be. There's a much, much simpler way of doing things. The approach is get to a payment as fast as possible. Okay. What do I mean by this? So like you have an idea. First thing that you should do for this is create a really low-tech sales page. I just use Google Documents for these sales pages, and it is like literally 2 to 3 page document. Hey, this is what this is. Here we go. This is what it's going to be. This is what you'll learn. This is the transformation that you're going to achieve if you buy into this thing. Super low tech, super simple approach to creating a sales page. You can do this in 2 hours, especially if you've got a good template to work from, which we've got tons of in Growth Models Plus. But I'll throw up that sales page. We've basically gone from here from idea to sales page in 2 hours. Within that sales page, there'll be a link to a checkout. And this checkout, and I make this very apparent in everything that I do, I say this is a pre-sale. This has not been created yet. And basically with the pre-sale, if they buy today, if the program or the course or the product is going to be $1,000, if they buy today, they get a big discount. So they're basically becoming like an early adopter of 50% off. So you get this today, they save this because they are going to wait them for 2-3 weeks to actually get their hands on the product. So you pre-sell it. Make it very apparent in that sales page, this is a pre-sale. It will be ready in a couple of weeks, whatever. So that goes through to that checkout with that sort of 50% discount on. And then what I'll do is I'll create like an email sales sequence that goes out to my list of 5 days, 10 days, whatever it might be. This is a completely different way of doing things because this whole thing will take maybe half a day to set up this whole system between you've come up with the idea, setting up a Google document sales page, setting up a checkout with a 50% discount, and setting up multiple emails to actually promote this to your list. It takes half a day. What this will do though, is it will allow people to actually buy. The problem is that when you ask people, hey, I'm going to create this program, would you buy this? And they say yes. When it actually comes time for them to open their wallet, they'll change their mind, yes or no. So what we do here is we actually make them vote with their wallet off the bat. It's cash collected for you today, and it's actual real validation that this product will sell. When I started to do things this way, even for things as cheap as like a $49 product, I had way more sales come through. And basically then I wasn't wasting months of my time building something that wouldn't sell. It was half a day, so just the morning of a day, to create a system to validate a paid course, a paid product. Much, much easier way of doing it, much safer way of doing it. And you might be thinking, oh, okay, that sounds cool, but what if you do all of this and you don't sell any or enough of this thing? So that's the wonderful bit with this, is being a pre-sale and being very upfront with people that this is a pre-sale and that the product isn't actually created yet. Let's say for you to justify putting the time into this, you need to make, let's just use some round numbers here. You need to make 10K. This is the 10K line. And you do a sales promo and you make 5K. You've now got this choice because you've got this 5K shortfall. You've now got a choice. Is creating this program now for 5K cash collected worth it for you? Will that cover the time that you have to put in to create the program? Could you bill out and make more money elsewhere for that same amount of time that it's going to take? If it's going to take you 2 months of full-time work to create this program, which it shouldn't, let's face it, but let's just say that. Imagine it's going to take you 2 months of full-time work. Is 5K going to be enough for you to justify that time? Could you earn more time by working with different clients for those 2 months? Probably. But then you also have to think of the future gains, because 5K today, that's a validated product. How much, if will this result in an extra 5K every single month? Either way, you have to put a price on what you think is acceptable. And let's say that you have a hard fee of, say, 10K that you have to hit to justify creating this. If you make below that number, so if you are in, if you're in this area here, then you do a very simple thing. You said it was a pre-sale. Basically, anybody who bought in here, you say, sorry, didn't hit the pre-sale numbers that I needed to. Here's a refund. You might lose a little bit on processing fees, but essentially you've saved yourself 3 months of time of building something nobody's going to buy and that won't provide a decent income for you. by actually just putting a payment link up front and saying, buy this now. It'll be ready in 2 weeks, but pay for it now. You've saved yourself all of that time. That's what you do. You just refund them. It's really simple. That is a much easier way for you to validate products. You're not then going to go create something that won't sell. You're not then going to run ads to a product that's never going to sell, because that's just wasted money on the ads. Doing it this way, the product is validated super quickly, as in you can validate a product in as little as a day or two with this method. Because all you have to do, Google Doc sales page and a checkout. You can even just use a Stripe checkout payment link for the checkout if you want to do it that way. If you're using something like what I teach in the $1 product challenge and you're putting all these upsells and things on, that's cool. But just to validate a new product, just use a Stripe checkout link. It doesn't cost you anything to have that. It's not like paid software. You don't need to pay $50 a month or whatever. You just lose like 3% on processing fees. So it's completely free. It's a Google Doc sales page, Stripe checkout link, and then some promotional emails. And that you can even use the spearfishing method that we teach in the $1 product challenge, where you basically generate sales for free if you don't have an audience through social communities. But this is a much better way of actually how to launch products that actually sell. Most people get this wrong. They have this idea. They think it's the best thing since sliced bread, and they'll go out and they'll spend months creating it. And it's not even just the money that you spend on software to help you create the thing. It's also the money that's lost through that time. If you're working on it the equivalent of 4 weeks, it's 4 weeks of lost revenue from other sources. And if you can't make that money back, it's pointless. What you essentially have to understand is that what people say and what people do are two very different things. Don't rely on what people say. A lot of people, especially if you're friendly with them, will say, oh, that sounds like a great product. I would buy that. And then when you ask them, oh, here's the payment link, they'll go, maybe not. Just look at what people do. Don't ask them if they would buy it. Put up the payment link and say, here's where you can actually buy it. You will save yourself so much time, so much hassle, so many headaches down the road simply by focusing on what people do. All you got to do is put up that quick checkout link. Hey, here's a pre-sale. It's going to be $1,000 when this is complete. You can get in early, save 50% lifetime deal today. Get in, get the thing. All you have to do, sign up here. And then you send them an email once a bunch like, hey, thanks so much. I'm working on this right now. It's going to be ready in about 2 weeks. Perfect. Or however long that's going to be. 2 weeks should be enough to create a course. It basically is if you're not picking that up. And then if you don't hit the sort of reserve price, if you like, of what you need to earn, you just refund and try again. And all that you've lost really is a morning's worth of your time and maybe a couple of dollars in processing fees of having to process those refunds. This way, the person who's taking 6 months to launch one product, they've launched one, in that same time, you can launch 1, 2, 3. You can launch dozens of products in this time because you've got a much faster process to validate ideas. And it might not be the 1 and 2 might fail, but number 3, this might be where you make your money. Can spin through the ideas much faster. So basically, if you do use or you're considering using digital products, use this method to find products that will actually sell. Don't go away and try and build this massive fucking thing before anybody's even expressed an interest in it. Look, I'm sure you're smart. I'm sure that the product is a good idea. There's a big difference between what people will pay for and what they say they'll pay for. Focus on what they will actually pay for by launching this as a paid product. This will save you months in time, thousands of dollars in costs, and also lost revenue. And it will be the fastest way for you to find products that you can actually sell and scale up to a proper income. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments.